Your powers are weak, old man.
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Now, I kind of sat on this one a little bit because I didn't want to have a rush to judgment about the panel I was on. I wasn't on there that long. I was maybe on there for maybe 15, 20 minutes at max, I think. Panel on the price of femininity with Concrete Rose and Sister George. And with the title, you expected something deeper, or the people that came, even when I came, to hear something deeper. And so, when I actually came through, because I was actually talking to some of my old crew in real life, so I didn't get a chance to actually jump in earlier. But when I got there, I was actually trying to hear the discussion about some deeper meaning of femininity and some deeper meaning of the price that, say, women or even black women pay to be feminine. And I'm going to say, outside of Kendra on YouTube, I haven't really heard that much, especially from black women. I've heard some Jewish scholars, and I think it was a French scholar that actually more described what the feminine principle is and what being feminine actually is. But on YouTube, especially black YouTube, I hear the same old program responses. It's like this at this stage, after years and years and years of going round and round about the same thing, I'm really starting to give up. So I don't know if this is going to be a ramble. I think this is going to be a ramble. It's not really a rant, because I think if I had done it yesterday when I started to do it, it would have been more of a rant. But I think this is going to be more of a ramble because I'm not upset, but I'm disappointed. It's like I had to go back and listen to the beginning of Sister George's and Concrete Rose's show with the four women. So I thought they were going to dig deep into being feminine and what it means and how this, should I say, social environment affects their ability to be feminine. And from what I heard, hell, I didn't even need to listen to it. You don't even have to be a woman to understand, maybe not to understand, but actually get what they were saying, because, like I said, they were actually talking about program responses, about how come they couldn't be feminine. Daddy wasn't in the home, mama was on her own, and so mama has to take on a masculine role. They're not allowed to be what they call submissive or docile. And the way they describe being feminine is program sex roles. Opening a door, pulling out a chair, walking in, like one lady said, walking into a store in front of a female. She said ticks her off because to her that's not masculine. A masculine is serving, where you open the door and allow the lady in first. That's actually serving. It's not really masculine. In other cultures, a man would not open the door. He basically, what he would do, he would walk in first. He might hold the door and allow his brood in. But the thing is, he always walks in front in other cultures. In other cultures, the women would actually hold the door open. But those are program cues that is trained and informed by your culture. And a lot of what black women think feminine is that independent but ladylike, supposedly. The sassiness. I'm a lady, but I don't take no shit, which are program responses to your environment. And always being feminine is always juxtaposed to being what men are supposed to do. Now, it's supposed to be a talk about femininity, but as always, if before black women get together, it's going to be about men. If it's before black women, it's going to be about what men aren't. And because there's no man in the house to give the boys social cues, then the men are weaker and less, quote unquote, masculine. So since the men are weaker, then the roles that the women have to take are more masculine roles, and so they can't be as feminine, and the cycle continues, right? I don't think throughout the whole show I really got a clear answer. Number one, what really is feminine, or what's the essence of feminine actually is, or what the title of the show was, what is the price of being feminine? And so I'm beginning to think that if we listen to the women, I don't even think they really know. I don't think they've really even thought about it. What is feminine? I think most women, especially black women, are really concerned about what masculine is. I think they're measuring being feminine as how close or far away you are from being what the ideal of masculine actually is. And I really think what they really need to do, instead of trying to talk about what feminine is or describe feminine, which seems to be a hard endeavor, even though they're women, because to actually get into what feminine is, you'd have to do some deep self-reflection. And American women don't really seem to have the ability to actually self-reflect. I don't think they're ever taught. I think they're taught to what kind of social cues and program responses they should actually use to actually communicate with others. I think that's the issue. But since they're really so tied up into what masculine is or what masculine is supposed to be, I think they should really talk about it and really study it. The question they should ask me, what really is masculine, and really try to understand it. I don't think they really do. I think the reason that we have a lot of black women peeking in and eavesdropping in on men's conversation is because they really want to understand what masculine is. But I don't think they really want to know what the essence of masculine is. I think they really want to know what kind of social cues should they look for, what kind of performance describes masculine, so that they will know what a masculine man actually is. And I think a lot of guys in this sector that go to dating coaches or relationship coaches and men are about showing masculine cues so that you can actually attract women. Because women are going by cues. Because I really do believe American women and black American women are way too shallow to really get deep into what masculine is or the essence of masculinity. Even when you tell them, even when you try to tell them what the essence of how men think, how men operate, what's inside of them, what they really want to know is what are the cues I should look for? How can I make whatever man, boy, whatever that I'm with act or demonstrate or perform in a masculine way? And in the manosphere, we're trying to get away from that. We're not trying to define masculinity. We're trying to understand it. We're trying to understand our essence. We know that it's there because we live and breathe it. We're men. We're males. We're born males. We know that the masculine heart beats inside of us. So it's really not about a demonstration of masculinity. It's about the understanding of what masculine is. And the demonstration is nothing but exercises in the external world to actually bring more of those qualities out. That's why I was disappointed. We were looking for women to give us insight into what they really are, what femininity really is. What I can say, outside of Kendra, there's very little dialogue. When I had my women's channel, I wouldn't let them get away with program responses. I wouldn't let them get away with program performances of what they thought femininity was. No, we're going to go deeper. We're going to go deeper. What is the essence of female? What is the essence of femininity? What does the feminine essence bring out? What qualities does it bring out? What qualities does it imbue even into the performance? What qualities are you supposed to even bring to the universe next to the masculine to enhance and amplify it, and vice versa? I'm looking for a female on YouTube, especially black YouTube, that can go more than one level deep. I can go one level deep. I can go 2 levels deep. I'm waiting for my counterpart, other than Kendra. Kendra should be the rule, not the exceptions, because you're females. You're women. You never sat up and thought about what makes you up, why you exist, how you exist in a female body. Never sat and meditated to understand who and what you are and what it means to be female or a woman on this plane. Even the educated lames, as we call them, the socially awkward, the males, as goofy as you think they are, actually sit down and contemplate what it means to be a man on this plane. Now, sometimes they may get it right. Sometimes they may get it wrong, or they might be off, but at least they sit down and attempt to really understand what it means to be a man, what it means to be a male outside of the program responses, program duties that society expects you to perform in a male role, in a male body. And I'm beginning to wonder about black women. I said I didn't want to rant, so I'm not gonna drop the beat. I'm not gonna rant. This is gonna be a ramble. I know you're expecting a rant, and one almost got started, but I caught it. But I'm really beginning to wonder and question the ability of black women to raise children, period. Let alone boys, let alone males. I know most children learn by example, but your examples of who and what you are and what you do usually come from understanding who you are. And I'm thinking that black women especially go by program responses. They go one level deep, and they don't give their daughters understanding about what it means to be female, what it means to be feminine, what it means to, in essence, be a woman on this plane. And if they can't understand the feminine, being inside a female body, how the hell can they understand masculine without a male body? If you don't know yourself, how can you really know somebody else? So that's how come they're always looking for a guide, a template, a checklist about what a man is supposed to be, what a woman is supposed to be. And that's how come every time we have the discussion about male and female relationships, it turns into a checklist. It turns into a series of boxes. A series of boxes from a list that was made so long ago, we don't even understand why these particular boxes or these categories are even on the list anymore. I'll give you an example. Like when I was coming up, my parents never taught me that, when you walk next to a woman, the woman was supposed to be on the inside and not the outside. And I had a girlfriend when I was in my mid-20s that used to force me on the outside, and she would walk on the inside. Now, she could never explain to me, number one, where she learned it or even why we're doing it. And no woman that I ever talked to could explain to me what that demonstration of masculinity was supposed to be about. I understand opening doors. I understand the chair. That's supposed to be like putting your coat over a puddle. That's supposed to be a demonstration of being a gentleman. But the thing is, the box that I think it was Concrete Rose was talking about with men walking on the outside. And we think it's about protection. Okay, I recently found out what that was from. That goes all the way back to the 17th century. I think it's 16th century, really. It goes back to the 16th century when you didn't have plumbing and running water in the city. And the sewer ran down the middle of the street. So the people inside, especially if they were upstairs, had buckets that they used for a latrine, for a bathroom. And after you went, you had to empty the bucket. Now, you're not gonna go outside at night and go to the middle of the street and dump your bucket. What are you gonna do? You're gonna throw it out of the window. And so if you're throwing to the middle of the street, just in case they miss, where's it gonna fall? It's gonna fall to the outside of the sidewalk, which is the reason if you're on a date, you put your woman to the inside. That's where it came from. And that became a demonstration of being a gentleman. And 400 years later, it turns into a demonstration of what it means to be a man. Doesn't matter why you do it. It doesn't matter where it came from. Has absolutely nothing to do with you being a man. Zero. It's a program response. In another part of the world, the woman would be 6 feet behind. Why? It's because in case there's danger, the man will turn a corner or go past the building. He'll get attacked first and give the woman a chance to run, which makes more sense, which makes the man in a protector role, but also a self-sacrificing role. Most times, especially in the black community, the demonstration of manhood is self-sacrificing. When men talk about what it means to be a man, the demonstration has nothing to do with it. When we talk about manhood, being man, being masculine, it's an internal thing, not an external thing. And I'm listening to black women talk about femininity, which is supposed to be an internal thing, not an external demonstration. And far too often, I'm hearing what I heard on Concrete Rose Sister George's stream, But I've heard it on Facebook. I've heard it on other places than YouTube. You hear it on Twitter. You see it in TV shows. You've heard it on Oprah. You hear it in the conscious community, spirituality centers. And my search for understanding what feminine is had to go outside the Black community. Couldn't find it inside the Black community. Couldn't find it, the answer from my own women, unfortunately. Which is why I'm not ranting, I'm rambling. Which is why I'm disappointed. Which is why I think that amongst the Black community, the males and females, the men and women, the two cohabitating partners will continually not understand each other. Because male and female, masculine and feminine for women are a series of boxes. It's a checklist. A checklist is to be followed and not to be understood. The reasons behind the checklist and the categories is what needs to be understood. And I'm really beginning to believe, it's already thought this, but I'm really beginning to believe that maybe our women really don't have the capacity to understand themselves, much less their men. And if they can't understand themselves, us trying to get them to understand us is fruitless. It's a fool's errand, which is the essence why Black men and women don't get along. It has nothing to do with the environment, which is something I've always said because I've been places where they're dirt poor and they understand each other. Where there's trauma, ongoing trauma, but they understand each other. And amongst the manosphere, I think the men have taken it upon themselves to actually dig deep and understand who they really are. In fact, I've been in African spirituality so that I can understand myself as a being first and then a man second, that I can understand the masculine at its essence. But I look for my counterpart to do the same and I don't see it. And I'm tired of searching for it because maybe it exists on the continent, but it doesn't exist here. Maybe women don't have that capacity, which I tend not to believe. I do believe they do have the capacity. And maybe it doesn't exist here in great enough numbers to even make a difference. Like I say, you see exceptions. Kendra's an exception, but she had to go outside of the teachings of the Black community to understand it, which is sad. But I have no idea what I'm going to name this. I'll slap a title on it. Hopefully it'll make sense. But that's a ramble I had to get off my chest. There's other stuff I have to do that I'm supposed to do that I want to get done. I'm going to try to kind of clear the board a little bit this week. A lot of stuff that's backlog. I know I can't clear it all. It's impossible for me to clear it all. But I'm going to try to work this week to clear off a lot of the backlog that I have. Get some things done. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. This is a ramble. I know you're waiting on a rant. Better luck next time. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on